But the reason why this was my origin birth the boats moment is that in order for me to stay the course with this crazy idea that no one supported, I needed to actually sabotage my escape route. Mm-hmm. I needed to ensure that little Matt Higgins was such a write-off to the New York City Department of Education that people would stop trying to convince me to finish. Right. So what I did was got left back, failed every single class, sat in the back of the same homeroom with the kids wearing the beepers, making very different life choices, right? But all entrepreneurial in our own way. And by the time I had become 16, the focus was more like, how do we get this kid out of our institution rather than how do we keep him in it? That was my first insight into this idea of burn the boats. But I dropped out at 16, went to my high school prom as the president of my debate team at Queens College. And within a decade, I'd become the press secretary to the mayor of New York. I'd gone from making $375 an hour to making $100,000 a year. I'm skipping over a lot.
Yeah, amazing. I guess the question I want to ask is maybe for people who are either coming out of school and trying to figure out what it is they want to do, or people who right now in this economy, I kind of hate that phrase, in this economy. What's your message to them about trying to figure out what to do with their life? I think some people are really good at something and they absolutely hate it. For me, that would be accounting, for example. I'm decent with numbers and accounting, but I don't enjoy it whatsoever. At the same time, there's a such thing as a starving artist, right? What is your advice to those people?
Great question. To unpack it a bit, I think we all do a lot of things along the way that we don't want to do. And so my number one advice is you don't have to make a straight line to your ultimate destination. You just have to move due north in the general direction of your ambition. So to unpack that, I didn't want to work at McDonald's as a little kid and scrape gum under the table. Mm-hmm. But I had an early epiphany. If you do a job that nobody else wants, and you do it well and better than anyone else, and you make yourself indispensable, that creates power. I think people tend to use their power the wrong way. They use their power for money, where they should be using power for influence and autonomy over their life. So I think that anyone out there trying to figure out what you want to do, one, have a general sense of where you want to end up, and then build a series of bridges along the way. And as long as you're just moving due north toward there, it's fine. And the way to get from point A to point B to point C, at least the way I did it, was every single moment in time, I made myself indispensable, whatever job, even though I knew it wasn't the ultimate job. And through that indispensability, I created leverage. And I would always use that leverage in an almost mercenary way to move me closer, to make that less abstract. When I was working for the mayor's, I got a job at the mayor's office when I was maybe 21 years old. And I was a good writer. I had been a little reporter for a newspaper in Queens. I actually won all these investigative journalism awards. Carl Bernstein nominated me for a Pulitzer when he was on a board. I can nominate you for a Pulitzer, by the way. It's not hard, but it was very flattering. Okay. My point is, I was working in the mayor's office, and my job was to take newspaper clippings and put them on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and walk around City Hall at 6 a.m. and deliver them to people. This was not the ultimate destination. However, I was a very good writer, and I would ghostwrite speeches for the mayor too. And when the time came, I said, well, if my work is good enough to do the job behind the scenes, it should be good enough for you to give me the job that it represents. And the answer, as it always is, well, young man, wait your turn. Take a seat. There are people in front of you. I said, or I could quit. And I quit that job. 4 months later, they brought me back for the job that I wanted. Mm-hmm. I have done that over and over again. The second time I did it, they were like, it's not going to happen. We're not going to bring you back.
Isn't it interesting, though? You have to give an ultimatum, or you have to usually leave somewhere.
Yeah, it is annoying. I mean, I say this all the time. Familiarity does breed contempt. It is annoying. But we all do it too. If we're honest, you do it, I do it. I hate it about myself. But why is it that we look anew upon something new, right? And so it is hard. That's why they say, if anyone out there and you want to get that job that you haven't had before, it sounds so simplistic, but change your wardrobe. Drop 15 pounds, not because those things matter per se. It's because then people have a reason to see you differently than they saw you yesterday. But society, I think, resists people who are trying to break out of the box because it challenges others to do the same. Everyone's always trying to it's happened to me my whole life. Who are you, Matt, to be running an investment firm? You were a PR person. Or who are you? I went from running PR for the mayor of New York to chief operating officer of the agency rebuilding the worst terrorist attack in human history.